we go.
Good morning, good afternoon, Darla Williams.
Well, hello, Catharina.
How are you today?
I'm doing really good.
Great, great. And today is a special day because you are the one that interview a lot of people. And today it's about you and about what you do. And it's time for you to shine.
Hi, everybody. I'm Darla Williams.
Oh, great. So I want you to share a little bit of why you are where you are right now.
A little bit about why I'm where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a deep question. That's really taking me into a deep world. Why I do what I do and why I am who I am is because I've experienced a lot of trauma myself. And the reason why I'm a Intuitive Transformational Life Coach and work in trauma relief is because I know what it feels like to be completely devastated and have to put your pieces back together. I paint these paintings behind me. The broken heart represents my loneliest, my darkest, and my most painful moments, while the heart with the rose is my restorative world because I've had to come to learn how to rebuild from the brokenness many times. None of us are truly broken. We're just lost in disarray. And it's learning that there's a way. So for myself personally, why do I do what I do? I spent many years, I have a 30-year-old son now who is suffering with a lot of mental health issues, chooses to live in the streets, do drugs and other things, which is a horrible lifestyle. However, it is his lifestyle. And as a parent, a lot of us get so concerned about how, what, when, why, but he's a soul sovereign being and he's making choices. And he's over 18 and he's allowed to make those choices even if I don't agree with them. So I had to get out of the way and realize that all the years that I worked with him in his mental health, I began getting skills that were able to help other people, not so much my son, because he's not willing to tune into what he needs to tune into and work on the things yet. He's not there. That's not where he's at. And sometimes people don't choose it. And it's okay if they don't. It's okay for each person to choose where they're at for themselves. And it was one of the hardest decisions, hardest comprehensions that I had to come through. And due to that world of discovery of how to deal with so many different conditions, circumstances, and life challenges, I decided that instead of just hanging up in the closet for just my son, I decided that what would be best for the journey that I took was to hand it to the world for those who are ready. So there's a lot of people out there who are ready to do the work. They just don't know who to turn to. And that's why I do what I do.
And that's why we are here to really show the world what you can help others that are ready to be helped. As I see, there is through darkness, you found your genius zone. And how did that came to you that you really, that you say, came out to show all the skills that you have learned through a long time. So how that came to you?
I think that for myself personally, it came to me due to the fact that I had so many people who in my family, around me, others that I had met just randomly, people I worked with throughout my life. Since I was a little girl, people came and asked me questions. Darla, how do you know that? Or how do I do this? I just came equipped. And that sounds really, it's not me trying to be bigger than life, because it's really not. It left me in a lot of places that were unfair in my development, because I did have answers and I didn't get the guidance in other areas, because people just thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. So, I mean, there was some, consequences to having knowledge as well, because people just thought, oh, she's got it, she don't need any guidance, and that's not truth. When you have wisdom, and wisdom lives in you, and you tell wisdom, people of all ages comes and asks you questions, because they're trying to figure out how in the world this little girl all the way up through life knows things that aren't normally known. I was just gifted with a lot of tuning in. So I started early talking to people, sharing lives. I became like the school counselor, and stuff like that. People look to me my whole life to, how do I deal with this? What do I do next? And my whole family turned to me, Darla, what do we do? How do we do this? Oh, well, mom's sick right now. You're not able to do this. Let me go ahead and teach you over the phone how to do these things. It was just me and who I am, being a helper and helping people to understand that there is a process and that things can be done. That it isn't, I learned very early, not, I guess the best way to answer that question would be, I learned to be overly responsible early.
So somewhere, I also guess you had to find your way to use boundaries around you so that you wouldn't be hurt in this during all this knowledge that you had. So how did that go, and what did you do? How did you find the way to do that in a good way?
That was a long journey. That was the longest part of my journey. I would say realizing, I started about 20 years ago, learning those boundaries. It's starting to put and implement those boundaries, but I didn't have them all yet. And I still don't. We still don't, no matter how much you're growing and developing them every day. Sometimes you're going to be faced with consequences that you're not even realizing that you needed a boundary for. So the boundaries is a big deal in anybody's walk of life, and no matter where you come from. If you've come from a lot of pain and a lot of abuse and a lot of circumstances, I want you to understand that in your beginning development, you didn't have boundaries. You didn't know them because everyone crossed them. So you didn't know what a boundary was. So you're going to, and from my own personal experience, I spent years in development of what was a boundary because I didn't have any. I'm hearing impaired. So I got close to people because I needed to hear them. So because I couldn't hear them, I climbed into everyone's personal space. I didn't know there was a personal space because I couldn't hear outside of that personal space. So that was my first journey of development, of realizing boundaries, to how people treated me. Was it just because I understood and I'd been hurt, and I could leave open, vast space for people to make all of these errors. And I'd be like, oh, it's okay. I know how you feel, because of my empathy, for my passion for people. And because I didn't want anyone to experience what I experienced, I didn't have that boundary. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to give you plenty of room to be a complete jerk. But I didn't know yet. I didn't understand that space. And a lot of people out there don't. So if you're listening and you're going, I don't know, and I keep letting people do these things to me over and over again, why? It's because you don't know yet how you are the one piece that isn't stopping that from happening. And I'm not saying that what you went through is your fault, because no, there are some really evil people out there, and I've experienced that. However, it is your responsibility to stand up for yourself and say enough is enough, and figure out where your enough is. So I went through a long journey. That journey took me until like probably about 18 years ago. I was like, that's it. No more of this abuse. I'm not going to do this. I went to the counseling, did the stuff, did all of the research, found it, was living this great life, having some people, and then periodically when things came up, I went, no, I don't have room for that. I can move on. However, in that development, I can also say it's very, very important of what you choose to be the what if scenario. What if can be wonderful. It can be the most important piece to building yourself, but you've got to know what you're doing when you're building it. In my circumstance, over 20 years ago, I decided, what if I'm abused again? What if the situation happens again? What am I going to do? What if that happens? Well, I was very full. I was full 20 years ago. I was filled with rage. Rage was in that space. So rage spoke up for me and said, well, if blah, blah, someone does this again, I'm gonna. And when it did rise in my world again, that what if scenario actually came up. And what it was for me was I was dead set in the anger and the hostility 20 years ago, sitting at that table with the counselors and the therapists and everybody talking to me about domestic violence. And they were trying to help me to program that default in the experience if this happens again, because I'd already experienced it over and over. How do I stop it? You have to build that subconscious response. You have to build that space. And through therapies, through counsel, through coaching, you can attain that. And what I did was I attained it through, well, if it happens again, what's going to happen? I'm going to get up. I'm going to leave and I cussed it out and said what I needed to say and walked on, shoving the table back, getting up and going, I'll walk out just like this. And I turned around and walked out. Well, what did I leave on my subconscious? An opportunity, a situation to happen again. And when it came up, I have to tell you, when you build the what if, build it with reason, with respect, with self-love. Because if you don't, you'll go through the pain again and actually have to walk out what you say. And I've had to do that. And I've had to do it in several areas in my life. And I want people to know that building those boundaries are hard. And you need a support. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Your passion is here. I truly can see that because you have lived it and you have experienced it, and you have also found systems that you are using. And I also guess that you have systems that you are implementing in your clients that they can have as a guidance on the way with you on the other side, also helping them when they are like, no, this is not functioning. So then you are there, I guess, because I really can see that you have walked the path, you have been there, done that, and you really have done it so many times. So you also have all these skills. So how do it look like when somebody's reaching out to you?
As a coach, first and foremost, I want you to understand when you're going through life and you're sitting in the situation and you find yourself in that place where you're shattered, the broken heart, the circumstance, you don't know how to pick yourself up from the trauma. What I like to do is help you get a little picture of what's going on. You're driving down life, right? You're going through the motions. So when you work with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about how you've gone through life, and life sort of like, say you're in a car and you're driving down the road and all of a sudden a big truck loader pulls up in front of you and they've got rocks in the bed, and every bump it drops out a rock and it hits your windshield. Eventually a couple times hitting it's going to cause crack, right? Well, you go down a little bit further and all of a sudden you get a bumpy road and a big boulder falls out and hits your windshield. It's not that, it's just a big boulder, it's a big size rock that come tumbling out. Bam, what happens? All of a sudden, the windshield of life is completely shattered into millions of little pieces, and you don't know what to do. You're sitting on the side of the road, completely lost and broken. And generally, that's where people find me. When you're sitting on the sideline of your own life going, what do I do? I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't want that to happen, and I don't know where to turn now. That's where you turn to a Darla, because I've been there. I've been on the side of the road. I've been in my own wreckage many times, and I know the path. So that's where I, as a coach, come in, shine a light on your path, help you pick up what's necessary, and teach you how to walk on and continue on. Not that you're going to have to just, get over it, because we don't. If you've been through trauma, you can't just get over it. It's a circumstance and a situation that lives in you, and everything that has happened or is going to happen is going to affect you over and over again. It's learning how to actually bring it to balance within yourself and be able to share your stories with other people, to share with them that they're not alone. So as a coach, when you get to work with me, I walk with you. I start wherever you're at, and I begin taking the steps with you to building the life into which you truly do deserve to live, and teach you how to accept that you're just as worthy as everyone else.
I have another question for you. Have you ever experienced a miracle?
I'm hearing impaired. I didn't catch that question.
Have you ever experienced a miracle?
A miracle? I've experienced many miracles in my life. But if I really want to talk about the most amazing moment in my life, it landed me in some real peculiar moments afterwards that I had to walk out, but I had to walk it out by faith. I was working at a Texaco in 2003 to 2004. In April of 2004, I lost my job due to the fact that I had an encounter with, I don't know if it was an angel or God himself. It was recorded, me talking to something. People came in and acknowledged this person that was in my store. Some people did not. Some people walked right past him like he wasn't even there. But other people walked in and they greeted and said hello to each other like they've known each other forever. And I just sat there talking to something, and on the camera, it wasn't caught, couldn't be seen. What happened at that day, I was in a place that was very, very dark in my own world. I wanted to die. I was tired of the abuse. I'd been beaten up really bad. I wasn't unrecognizable at the moment, and people, as they were walking in the store, was literally aghast. They were like, oh my God, Darla, what happened? That's how people were responding every time they saw me. And I was like, the abuse, it happened again. And it was uncomfortable. It was ugly. And I hated every moment of my life at that moment. And I wanted, and truly, what can happen is you can want to die. When you realize that the people that you love are looking at you, you feel this guilt, you feel this shame, you feel this pain that is just consuming. And you don't realize it, that it's shifted guilt, shifted pain, shifted shame. You just start living in it. So it started overtaking me, and I began believing that I needed to commit suicide. And I started writing what I wanted done with my son, what I wanted done with, possessions, little bit of monies, I started writing a letter because I was going to go harm myself, and I was going to make a permanent decision for a temporary problem. And that's what I learned later out of that, is wanting to hurt yourself is you want to hurt yourself only because you want the pain to stop. It's not that you really want to die. It's that you want the pain that you're feeling to die. And when you realize that you're just in a temporary problem, you don't have to make a permanent decision. You have to find resources and help so that you don't do it. Well, in that moment, when I was sitting in the store in Texaco, I was writing out this letter, and I got angry because I realized in that moment I didn't really want to kill myself. I got angry, and I got angry at nothing other than God. How can God allow somebody to go through this? Why would this happen to anyone? Why would these things happen to me? So I was angry. So I crumpled up that letter, ripped it to shreds, and because I couldn't, crumpling it wasn't enough. So I tore it back open and ripped it up and threw it in the wastebasket. And what I did was I screamed out because there was nobody around. So I was just like, God, if you're real, why? Why? I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was looking like a complete idiot. I was in the mess of my world. I really was. So I'm screaming out to God, if you're real, prove it. A couple minutes later, as I'm bringing up stuff, I realize there's a storm coming in. It was a clear, perfect day just a few minutes before. All of a sudden, there's a massive storm. When you want to talk about a miracle, that storm blew both of those doors open. And all of a sudden, a man who looked weathered and tired and worn comes walking through the door with a backpack, but it was old. It was a satchel type bag, and he had a little chalice hanging from it. And he came walking in the store, and as soon as he walked in and turned towards the register where I was working at a convenience store, he comes walking, and I started to tremble. And all of a sudden, I took a step back and another step back. And there wasn't very many steps because I'm in between a cash register and a wall of cigarettes. There wasn't anywhere for me to go. By the time he had walked up to the front of the counter, I was just standing there completely just shaking, staring into these blue eyes that just went like they were the sea, but they had little golden flux. It was like I was transferred, and I felt like I was floating on the sea, looking into these eyes. And I was just like, everything inside of me stopped. And I was just like, he goes, I'm like, can I help you? Can I help you? And he says, no, I'm here to help you. What? I was so confused. I was standing there completely like, what in the world? I'm like, this is it. Here's the natural mind. I'm going, this is it. This guy is going to be the one that kills me right behind the counter. He's here to help me move on to the next level, because when you're broken, you think some really wild thoughts, okay? I will tell you. And I was sitting there going, this is it. This guy's going to, as he's pulling out this chalice off the back of his bag, he's looking to want water. He asks me for water. I'm thinking he's getting ready to pull a gun out and shoot me for the cash in the register. And he's like, I need water. You're asking me for water. You came in. I feel like I'm on a sea of, I don't know. And I'm completely trembling in my soul. What are you? Is what I'm thinking. And these are the quick thoughts that I'm having while he's asking for water. So all I can do is just lift my hand and point over to the soda fountain and explain how to get water out of the fountain. And he walks gently over, pours himself a cup of water out of the fountain, and starts drinking out of a chalice. And I'm like, this is the weirdest experience of my entire life. I see him larger than life. This is a guy standing in my store. Somebody else comes in. Now, here's the real tale. Somebody comes into the store, right? Hi, how's it going? How can I help you? Because now I got to get back to work because there's now a customer. This other guy doesn't want to, he's here to help me. I don't know what that means yet. So I'm ringing up a customer. This customer stops and says, hey, man, how you doing? I'm not crazy. This guy just saw him. You can hear that on a recording later. Not you, but the people that work there could hear that part. Hey, man, how's it going? Da, da, da. But they thought they were talking to me. But he turned, obviously, to someone to the side that was not on the camera. Continuous all day long sat with me. God himself, it could have been angels that he sent in. It could have been just some odd moment in life. We don't know. We can't, I can't go and get an exact account and tell you exactly what it was, who it was, or why it was. But I believe that there is a real possibility that people walk with God today. And I was privileged enough because in my desperate hour, I was told accounts of my entire life that no one knew except me and God, things that I never talked about. And that entity that stood there with me that day told me all of those things and said it wasn't that he turned away from me, but I had turned away from God, and that God never left me nor forsake me, but always loved me, and that my circumstances of my pain story is what kept me separated from my truth, and that I was going to go through even more before it was going to be over, and that I had a complete mission in life that I had to stand in faith. Stand. No matter how bad it looks, no matter what you're going to go through, you have to stand in belief that I will deliver you from that experience in the end. I'm sitting there living a life that is completely full of nothing but riddled pain over and over again. And I have to say, okay, this person sat with me all day long, continuing to talk, share stories, communicate, make me laugh, make me look into the future, give me a hope for something better than what I've experienced, and then proceeded to walk me home. Hours of sitting, talking, walked me home where my abuser looked out the window and I panicked. And all I heard from this being was, "Don't worry, he can't see me." What? Don't worry, he can't see me. My first realization, whatever, people could see him and other people couldn't. Believers could see him, unbelievers could not. So I go into the house, another night of turmoil, blah, blah, blah. The next morning, I get a phone call. So, talking about a miracle, great opportunity to speak with God himself, right? That's a miracle. Not everybody gets to have that privilege. The next morning, I was lost and devastated because I got called into work. I thought I was going into work, got myself ready, showed up, and Carol said, "Miss Darla, it's not about you coming to work. I need you to come into the office." She proceeds to show me a video where I'm talking all day long to nobody, and she's looking at my physical condition because I've been bruised and beaten to the point that I'm unrecognizable, and I'm still showing up to work with a fractured back, with my face destroyed. I'm still working. And she's, "Darla, I know you're going through some things. I can't have you working here anymore. I have to fire you. And I know you won't let this guy go. You won't get this out of your life. I can no longer keep you as an employee." And I'm like, "Why? What do you mean? I have to feed my kid. What are you talking about? I'm just now coming back from wanting to die. I'm wanting to work, wanting to live, from having this wonderful discussion the night before, to be told I was losing my job. I couldn't have nothing. I was losing my apartment. I was losing my life, everything right there. In a very short moment, I had nothing. And I walked out the door, and as I was walking down the road, all of a sudden, I see the same being come across the road. Just all of a sudden, ta-da, walks right towards me. As he's walking towards me, I'm like, "I just lost my job." And he's like, "I told you you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose it all, Darla. You have to gain it. You have to have nothing to receive everything. You have to have nothing to receive everything." Walks past me. "It has begun," is all I hear. And he's gone. In a snap, gone. As he's walking back, "It has begun." I'm walking and spinning in circles on the side of the road like a lunatic. There was somebody there and then they were gone. So if there was a miracle, yeah, I've seen many of them. People who didn't know that I needed help, that just randomly came up and helped me. Monies that were given when I needed it the most. People just being kind and generous when they had no idea what was going on. the miracles in my life are countless. I I've had gifts that said on Christmas when I had nothing to give my own child, where somebody randomly drove up and it said to mom and to 8-year-old child, male child, the age of my son and me, as we're walking through a parking lot and some lady pulls in and opens up a trunk and has those Christmas presents. They're countless. I could go on all day. That's a whole book in itself.
Wow, Darla, I have had goosebumps all over me listening to you today. And I really hope all of you that have been listening to Darla are very inspired by her and how she can help you out there if you are in somewhat this situation that Darla have been in. And so we will share with this video all of her places where you can find her. So now I just want Darla to share with us one last thing that she wants to share for you, my dear attendees here.
So, what I want to talk about is really what the point of all of this video is really about, is letting you know that, yes, for the depths of it all the way from one extreme to the other, if you've been through trauma, I'm here for you. I'm an intuitive transformational life coach. I have regular life skill coaching. I have one-on-one coaching, group coaching, as well as I have coursework. So if you want to begin learning, identifying yourself and discovering a self-love that you've never had because you didn't know how to have it, I can help you and walk you through a 90-day course called The Art of Learning Self-Love. I have a 21-day confidence builder, as well as some breath work and many, many, many more tools and techniques that I use. And I could, because of my own personal experience, I really can walk with each individual wherever you're at. You can find me on social media and almost every platform. And in the link below, you'll be able to actually, in the description box, find me and book in if you are looking for anything yourself today. And for anything else that I can impart to you, the one thing I can impart is, no matter where you're at in the journey of life, it's about making a decision to choose you. And if you choose you today, you can turn your life into anything. It's up to you.
Wow, Darla, you are fantastic. And I love when you are shining, because that is magic. You are magic. So thank you so much for today, Darla. And bye-bye for now.